What's up, guys? How to get rich. You got to find a method. Um, Listen, business is competitive. Money is competitive. But it's not too competitive for me to tell you some of this knowledge. There's some stuff that I can't talk about because those are my methods, right? Methods that we find are usually pretty niche only for us, right? Like, but you got to find a method, right? When you start out, you get into entrepreneurship thinking you're going to be making the big bucks in no time. And that's usually just not true. You know, it's usually simply not true. Usually it's going to be at least 5 years before you start making any money at all. Let me lay out a simple plan, a simple 10-year plan that you could follow. As I'm going to be 30 this year, I have, like a small, reasonable understanding of how long 10 years is as an adult, right? 10 years as a kid seems like a fucking eternity because you got to go to school and stuff and it just takes forever. Everything is a process, 10 years as an adult is a little bit better. So 10 years, right? When you first get started as an entrepreneur, I think you should be bold enough to call yourself an entrepreneur from the very first day. From the very first day you buy your first website, or you open your first Amazon store, or you place your first Facebook ad, you are officially now an entrepreneur. So, year one, don't expect to make any money. You might make a little bit of money, but if you do make any money at all, it's not going to be a whole lot. And your goal from the very beginning should be to go for the big bucks from the very beginning, right? Don't fuck around and try to make a little 100,000 a year. You should be trying to make 100,000 a month minimum. I'm talking minimum. But really, if you're out here setting goals, like real goals, and you're aiming for anything less than $1 million a month, you're just shortchanging yourself. And here's the thing when it comes to entrepreneurship. I think everyone that has a taste for things in life should be an entrepreneur. Why is that? Because you get to live once. You get one chance. Never trade a day in the office for a day at church. Okay? Never trade your spiritual pursuits and your relationship with God for another $1,000,000. You know, very seldom is it acceptable to trade a spiritual pursuit for a material pursuit. Very, very rarely. For example, if your business career is getting so intense that you can't, like, go to church on Sunday morning, you probably should just throw in the towel and get a regular job, because you're losing sight of what's really important in life. The whole point about making money is to enrich all the other areas of your life. I want to build a temple in my house where me and my friends can do ceremonies and stuff. Like Illuminati type shit, you know. I think that'd be dope, you know. I think that'd be really cool. I am a Mason. I haven't been contacted by Illuminati yet that say, you better not talk about Illuminati in your YouTube videos. I'm not just 1,000% sure if the Illuminati really exists, you know. But yeah, I want to do stuff like that in my house, like Illuminati like type rituals in my house. I think that'd be awesome. And I want to live a very rich spiritual life, and I want to use my business to serve God in my communities. I think that'd be sick. That'd be awesome. I think that'd be the most savage way. It is the most apparent way to enrich all the other areas of your life is to make a whole bunch of money. I don't buy that whole like Gideon's Bible bullshit of like, oh, like rich people go to hell, rich people don't go to heaven, shit like that. I don't buy into that shit. I think that shit was created by the church to make it so that people don't rise up in life and pose a threat to the state. I don't think that the fucking Trump is going to come knocking at my door with a rifle and blow my head off for saying that in this video. There's only about 10 people are going to see this video. So we could talk about that here, but that's my conclusion of like the Catholic Church versus the Christian Church. The Catholic Church is made for civilian class people. Christianity is made for people who, you know, if Jesus Christ is the Son of God, right? Me being an Orthodox Christian, I'm like the brother of God, right? Being a Christian, Orthodox Christian, I believe in the Son of God. That makes me the brother of God. God damn it. Hold on, Donald Trump is knocking at my door. Oh, you said it's okay to talk about this in my YouTube videos? Thanks, Trump. Why don't you leave a duffel bag full of cash at the front door? I'll come grab it in a couple minutes when I'm done with this YouTube video. Thanks, Donald J. The point is, brothers, is you get one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted. One moment. No, but If you don't know, that's a song from Eminem called Lose Yourself. I was just making a joke there, but yeah, you get one shot to live this life, so you better do something of substance. Like having a dope career is fucking awesome. Being being an entrepreneur is badass. Like it goes God, family, then business. Okay? In that order. Now, you can make arguments to say, like, maybe you should put your business before your family simply because maybe it's better that your family has to do a little bit of growing up on their own. Like I did. I had to grow up a lot on my own. And I turned out better because of it. I didn't have a dad growing up. My dad was always in and out of prison. My conception was a statutory case where my mom was 14 and my biological father was like 21. So he went to prison over my mom when she got pregnant. That, in theory, is not immoral and wrong, right? But because of the, like, if my dad was like 40, if he was like 40, that'd be different, right? That'd be a little bit weird, right? Like, I'm creeping up on 30. I'm going to be 30 next week, right? Like, if I did something like that, that could be probably seen as a little bit weird, right? But, yeah, so you got one shot in life to get all the things that you want, to live, to do everything that you want. Some people really want to be a champion, like athlete. I care to have a great body and compete in bodybuilding. I won't lose any sleep if I don't win my show, though. You know what I'm saying? I won't like fucking blow my brains out if I don't place first place in my bodybuilding show. Some people see it differently. For me, that is like, I have to have, if I could write down like 10 things that I want to do before I die, like having a lot of money is one of those non-negotiable type things that I want to do before I die. Because if there's one way that you could use to enrich your life that is more potent than any other way, like getting in good shape and looking good is cool, right? But making a lot of money is the way that you can enrich your life the most. But here's my thing, is I do it because I love my work. I got into entrepreneurship to make a lot of money. but I stick around because I love the work, right? I love the work. God told me something today. He told me, do your work, come home, right? Do your work, come home. I wrote it down in my notebook. Do your work, come home. Play video games, work out, compete in bodybuilding, and make videos. And that's it. And he's telling me something right now. I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you all about it in 2 seconds. He told me, that is so funny. And he said this verbatim. He says, make big... You have to understand the RuneScape community. Okay, that's the only game I play. Well, that's not the only game I intend to play, but it's the only game I currently play is RuneScape. There's this content creator called Alcan, and he calls his fans big dick subs. Okay, you know what a sub is on YouTube, right? Is a subscriber, someone who subscribes to your channel. Subscribe to my channel, by the way. He says, make big dick subs squeal. That's what God told me. Verbatim is what he told me. RuneScape videos combined with real life stuff and make it educational. And that's it. Do your job, or rather, do your work, come home, play RuneScape, work out, compete in bodybuilding, record videos. Make big dick subs squeal, RuneScape videos combined with real life stuff and make it educational, and that's it. So it's like, that's what I want to do. So what that means is make big dick subs squeal. What he means by that is he wants me to appeal to like maybe I could be like the Alcan, right? The Alcan. That didn't stop having a life. Because Alcan, when he graduated from high school, Alcan was in sports. Alcan is the content creator that calls his subscribers big dick subs. Right? I gotta go out and have a cigarette in a second. Hold on. You know, but he was always in sports. He always had like shit going on. He always had a life. And he was really good at RuneScape. Like, it's hard to have a life and be good at RuneScape, but Alcan pulled it off, and he was like a top page player on RuneScape while playing sports and having a life and shit like that. Maybe I could be like the Alcan that like the reverse Alcan. You know, as far as I know, Alcan still works out and stuff. And if not, then just for the sake of argument, say like, I'm like a top page player in real life, but also really good at RuneScape. I think that'd be badass. That'd be sick. And then do like my Illuminati stuff and be a contributing member of God in my community. Because it's like when you pray for all this material stuff, do yourself a favor and pray for a job as well. I don't mean a job like working at McDonald's. I mean a job like for God. Pray to the Lord right now that you could perform some sort of function in his community. Because this life could be so fucking decent, guys. This life is fucking incredible. This life is like this human body, this roof over my head. Do you know how much shit had to happen for you to have like hairs on your head and stuff like that? Like, there's been devils throughout the course of the history of the universe. There's been demons, like real life demons. Some of them might be standing over my shoulder as I record this video. Like, you better not talk about that. It's like, sorry, I calls it as I sees it. There's like, you know, you might be a demon. That's not your fault, but I sure wish you were different, you know. There's no shame in that, you know. There's been chaos and people have sacrificed for us. Like, you don't know that we are like the children of the universe. And like ever since the beginning of time, every generation, you don't know conversations that I've seen in like with Medusa yesterday, was talking about how he would do anything for us. Medusa's not a bad guy, by the way. Medusa's a badass and a savage, but he's not like and he and all of us who support him will fuck you up over Medusa, but he himself is not he's not like a devil. You know, he's not like a demon who's just going to hurt you for no reason. You know, he said with his words that he would do anything for us, you know. And he doesn't like being called Lord, he likes being called Sir. Right. Medusa was one of the first people that stood in front of the waves of the universe, trying to protect the people being born in the universe. And it's just been a lot of shit has had to happen over time. Over the eons and the centuries, you know. They're like, it's just our job to be contributing members of God in our communities, God damn it. And quite frankly, there's no reason to say like, if Medusa, all right, the Medusa, the devil that he is, right, will stand in the waves of the ocean for the children of the universe and say with his mouth that he will do anything for us, right? That he's a god, right? He would do anything for us, right? So we just need to be there for his support, to be willing to do anything for them and him and them and people like him and even the devils of the universe. It's not their fault that they were born devils. It's not their fucking fault. You know, evil is a construct of, like, the personality that evil is like, if you turn out evil, it's probably because you've been through some shit and you had to be fucking evil, and that's not your fault. If you turn out evil, it's not necessarily your fault. You know why? Because it's not necessarily logical to be evil. You wouldn't choose to be evil if you had a proper choice with proper education. Did you know that? Like, yeah, maybe we're all a little bit self-interested. Like, I don't tell you guys all my secrets. You can trust and believe that there's some dastardly secrets that I possess that I will never escape my lips. Never is a strong word. You know, I usually never talk about, like, my opinions on Catholicism and how versus Christianity, how Catholicism is built for the civilian class citizen of God's communities. You know, they don't want you to make a shit ton of money so you could rise up and pose a threat to the establishment and stuff like that, you know. You know, I don't talk about stuff like that because, you know, I got a lot of friends that are pretty high up in the establishment, and they probably prefer that I don't talk about it. But, you know, if I feel inclined to talk about it, then I know that's what God wants. So then I talk about it, right? So never is a strong word for any of the secrets that I possess. But there's a time and a place for everything, but you're not going to see me stand in front of a crowd of like 10 million people and talk about that secret, right? And try to, like, take down the Catholic Church, right? Because quite frankly, it's true. It's true. I believe that people shouldn't, you know, maybe it's convenient that people believe that money is evil and they shouldn't be rich. And they will be rewarded in heaven for sure. Because my life of fortune on earth, material fortune, does not come without a strong contribution on my giving end to receive that fortune and to receive my continued epic life of, like, receiving and receiving and receiving. I might be like a poor person in heaven, but I'll still be in heaven, though. You know, I'm not going to go to hell because I make a little bit of money and because I own businesses and stuff. It's just like, that's what I like and that's what I like to do, you know, and that's not my fault and that's not my problem. I'm fine with that, you know, long as I don't go to hell, you know. Hell in my... The fuck was that? Hell, in my opinion, is is not usually something that someone is damned to, right? Like, God doesn't meet you at the pearly gates and say like, "Oh, you made 10 million bucks." That'll be 10 million degrees of fire in hell. It doesn't work that way. Hell is usually something that is predetermined by devils or just by the flow of the universe, is like, I think you could be damned to hell. It could happen. But that is much further between than the reality of the situation, that mostly people go to hell because of a predetermination, not because God is just such a douchebag that he wants to send you to hell because you made, 10 million bucks or whatever. So now let's go back to the 10-year plan. Your first year, don't expect to make any money. It's just probably not going to happen. You might make a little bit of money. You might even make upwards of like a couple $100,000. But for the most part, you're still figuring out how to be an entrepreneur. You're still figuring out your methods and stuff. And first of all, you have to figure out exactly how much money do you want to make. You have to figure out exactly how much money do you want to make. Me personally, my goal is to make about 60 million in personal effects, personal assets, personal belongings, and cash and stuff, and maybe have like $250 million in investments to support my lifestyle, but not to really surpass or to blow too far past like 100 million in personal effects. So it's just not necessary, I think my dream house is like 10 million bucks. My retirement house is like, I think 15 million. I have a trophy house that I want to buy that is like, probably by now with inflation, it's like 8 million, So, and I want to buy my grandparents' old house, which is like not much more than, I think they fixed it up. They sold it when my grandmother passed away. They sold the house for like 150,000. They fixed it up, and I think they sold it for like 350,000 or something like that. The house today is worth like 350,000. It's a nice, now it's nice. It's a nice like fixed up house in the suburbs. That's what they did back then, People worked hard to keep their families out of the ghettos. Or that's what my family did. My family worked hard to keep us out of the ghettos. I live in the ghetto right now in grind mode, like trying to build my business so that I could be somebody in my life. I'm about to be 30 in like let's see, 6 days, because it's after midnight. About to be 30 in like not long from now. I'm working a job for like 14, 15 bucks an hour, 6 days a week. Coming off of disability, like trying to get my education, trying to work on my business, blah, blah, blah. It's like I might be balling by the time I'm like 50, you know. The same amount of time between age 10 and now is going to be like the amount of time between age now and age 50. So yeah, I love Coca-Cola, by the way. If you ever want to buy me a drink, don't buy me a beer, buy me a Coca-Cola. So, 10-year plan. Yeah, your goal should be to be a millionaire within about 5 years. I became a millionaire, well, sort of became a millionaire in my, let's see, in my second year. But I got really lucky. I acquired the bankofcryptocurrency.com. It was just available. I did a search for it and it was just there. And I bought it. I bought it. I had like $100 in the bank, right? I had just moved to the ghetto for the first time because I had just gotten kicked out of my grandma's house because I didn't know, but my grandma was dying of cancer and she didn't tell me that she had cancer. Because she knew that I would have fucking kicked her in the ass and told her to quit smoking right away, and she wouldn't have had her cigarettes if I would have found out she had cancer. So, yeah, expect to be a millionaire in about 5 years. That's if you bust your whole ass and work your ass off. You could be a multi-millionaire in like 10 years, and you could buy that big $20 million house in like 20 years. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, entrepreneurship is a lifelong thing. You never get to retire. I don't care what they say about, like, oh, get in, get your money, get out, retire, and sit the rest of your life on the beach drinking margaritas. That's how, like, decent enough people wind up going to hell, because you have an opportunity to make a whole bunch of money. You have an avenue to make all this money. I get it if you want to sell your business, or if someone offers you money for your business and then you wind up sitting on the beach drinking margaritas. That's different. Then you won't go to hell, right? But it's not one of those things where you get in, get your money, and get out and sit on the beach drinking margaritas. That's not the way this works. Is like you get the most from the economy, so you have to give the most of yourself to your work. There's not one single person that gets more than everyone else, that doesn't have to give more than everyone else. You see, like, a pretty direct correlation between people who get a lot where they give a hell of a lot. You know, I give, like, my eternity to this. I'm not talking about going to hell. I'm talking about I'm going to be contributing to God and the communities that I create for all eternity. You know, the people that work for me really are people that this is my plan for my eternity. This is what I want to do. As long as my life is at an increase, right? I sit there and I smoke my hookah, right? My life is at an increase, right? After that, whatever other, 70% of my time, that might be like that 30% of my time I spend just on quality of life stuff. Like whatever the equivalent of smoking hookah, right? Smoldering in millions of degrees of pleasure for like a couple hours a day, and then spend the rest of my life doing like work. And this is what I'm going to be doing for all my life, because this is what I love to do. Entrepreneur type shit, work type shit, being a contributing member of God in my communities. There's some dirty work involved. Not in these videos. But there's like some dirty work involved. But it's mostly clean, and the work that is dirty is for good enough reasons. Is not like just to fuck you over. I'm not like fucking your bitch or something. Is like kind of like that thing where I kind of do support the Catholic Church. That like people ought not. It's maybe convenient even for me for people to believe that money is evil, because people usually make the wrong choices in life. They say like the good die young, right? They say the good die young. I call that fast money. The good die young, and then that inspires people to be a piece of shit so they can live a long time, right? Well, I call that fast money. I'm kind, but I'm not 1,000% good all the time because of things like that. Because I support the Catholic Church in their choice to promote the idea that wealth is evil, so that people don't rise up and pose a threat to the establishment. Stuff like that, is like stuff that I support that makes me not 1,000% of a good person. I might live to be like 70 something, I'm like pretty decent, I'm pretty average in terms of how good I am. Hold on, I gotta find something to eat, guys. I'll be right back. So yeah, you know, in life you get one chance, man. You get one chance, brother. I mean, you realize everything's a give and a take. Maybe, perhaps, don't sign up to go to hell for all eternity to make a little bit of money. It's not particularly the most worth it thing. It's very much not worth it. So, so yeah, yeah, the real treasure is in heaven, but my heaven on earth is not heaven, but my heaven in the afterlife. God damn, I hope I go to heaven. Money is not the thing that I'm worried about that might send me to hell. And it's not the dirty deeds that I do of supporting the Catholic Church by supporting my government. It's just, I feel like I might be going down a slippery slope of not listening to every little thing that God says. I pray for obedience. I pray that I'm obedient. With great power comes great responsibility. When you have a high degree of free will and free reign over your own actions, most people are just on autopilot. You know what I'm saying? That person might be you. You might just be on autopilot. AKA Catholic versus Christian. A Christian, well, there's 1,000 different ways to practice Christianity, but the way I do it is I take conscious control over my own actions. Which means when God tells me to do something, I have to choose to do it no matter how ridiculous it is. But that's good for God because that means the things that I'm asked to do, I grow in faith that no matter how ridiculous the claim, I have to do it, right? No matter how ridiculous it might seem, I have to do it. And I grow in my understanding so that, like, if I have to do something really important, I don't fuck everything up by not doing it because it seems ridiculous, right? And Catholics work for people like me, where you think me as the owner of a business, I'm just like bawling my eyes out, whipping my Lamborghini down the road 24/7, doing donuts in the parking lot with your bitch, which is not true. I'm a very good person. I don't do stuff like that. My material conquest is really quite modest. I give a crazy amount of money to charity, and I don't wish that it has to be that way, but that's the way it is. And it's all based on your actions. And it's all based on your actions. I'm not the judge, right? I'm the judge enough to know that I'm not the judge of someone who chooses to be a piece of shit. Being a piece of shit is a more convenient way to protect yourself from the harshness of society. Is by being a piece of shit. We all know that. It's more convenient to be a piece of shit versus being very good, very kind, very generous, giving the dollar to the homeless man, you know. But I'll put it to you this way. I had to be homeless to learn how important it is to give the dollar to the homeless man, and also the place of the person who doesn't give the dollar to the homeless man does not enable the homeless man to continue to be a bum for his life's work. Because if everyone gave me $1 every time I asked when I was homeless, If everyone gave me $1 every time I asked, I mean, I'd probably still be homeless to this day. I was homeless like 7 times in a 10-year period. I was homeless in, let's see, how many different cities? I think it was just 2 different cities. Cleveland, where I currently live. I live on the east side in the ghetto right now. And yes, there are shootings. Yes, there are drugs. Yes, there are prostitutes. Yes, there are gangbangers everywhere. And so I don't leave the house very often. Like, I don't even like going outside to smoke. Like, my landlord doesn't like me smoking in the house. But I'll tell you this much, I'm not scared of being homeless, because I realized too, all you really need is like $1 a day to survive. That's all you need, you know. It's not that complicated. Life at the bottom level is not very expensive. Well, life at the bottom level when you're in debt can really suck, you know, eggs. But being homeless, if that's the worst thing that could happen to you in America, we're doing pretty good. You know, I'll be the one to tell you that. We're doing damn good. Nah, but there's also some lower trenches of poverty and living a shitty life that I don't want to even expose you to. That I'm not going to expose you to. That I've never experienced. But I've seen it happen, and I will say one word. And one explanation. Heroin. Just don't do it. I've seen a few decent enough people fucking ruin their life for nothing. My cousin was one of those people. Yeah, so if being homeless is realistically the worst thing that could happen to you, and drug, you know, drug addiction is a real threat too, because it can creep up on you. You know, drug addiction doesn't happen because when you're sitting in your apartment with your cozy $60K per year job, and you decide like, hey, I'm gonna go on the the internet and buy a bag of heroin. That's not when it happens. Heroin specifically. I don't know about other drugs. I know heroin is the one that I've seen do the most damage. So just don't do it. It's a big no-no. If not for any other reason, then you don't want to be sticking needles in your arm 6 times a day till you die, or wind up in jail, which is the only thing that got my friend Kim off of heroin, and she wound up getting a felony, which she wound up on probation. She wound up in jail and on probation, so she can't do drugs, otherwise she'll go to jail. Or something like that, I don't know, or and I also will say that if heroin is anything like cigarettes, you can't easily just walk away from a tobacco addiction either. So, my cousin told me that heroin was pretty hard to walk away from. So it's not as simple as oh, you wind up on probation, so is I'd have to talk to my friend Kim to see what got her off of heroin, but you know, yeah, but it's my knowledge that there are people that wind up getting sent to hell. This is stuff that you could learn through your own meditations, or you could just take it from me. That's how we keep order in society. Sometimes people get sent there. It's 1% of people, but that's enough to keep the rest of us in order, right? And be decent folks, right? So, yeah, but how to get rich? Understand that money isn't evil, or if you think money is evil and you just don't care, because that's how bad you want it. And lucky for you, money isn't evil. And isn't that kind of comforting to know that our favorite artists our favorite businesses, our favorite business owners, our favorite contributing members of our society are not going to hell just because they have a lot of money. Someone has to have money, right? Someone has to have money, you know. I talked it over with the Lord, and the Lord told me that no, like, you can have money and still go to heaven. It's just I need to have this conversation again. What is the Lord? What is the? It's just money can be damaging to society. What do you mean? Yeah, exactly. The Lord says there's no justification for having like $100 million and not giving something back. You know, if you make 100 million bucks, you're pretty much required by spiritual law to give back at least like 6 million of that money to charity. At least, you know, but the Lord understands. It's just like the ultimate spit in the face of someone who's going to hell. I don't mean the spit in the face of someone who's going to hell. The spit in the face to society that will cause someone to go to hell is like when society gives you so much and you just don't give anything back, right? I pray for one thing is a good life, an increase in my quality of life forever. Beyond that point, I don't care what it is, and I pray to be a contributing member of God in my communities and to be able to be there for my family, and that's literally it. That's it. What else could a man want, you know? So thanks for watching my video. Sayonara.